Have you ever wondered why certain nightmares feel so familiar, even when you've never experienced them before? Dr. Elena Vasquez had dedicated her career to answering that very question, until she wished she had never asked it at all. The Morpheus Institute's sleep laboratory hummed with the quiet efficiency of cutting-edge technology. Rows of monitors displayed the brain waves of sleeping subjects, their dreams translated into digital patterns that danced across screens like neural symphonies. Elena had been studying these patterns for 15 years, but what she discovered in the autumn of 2023 would shatter everything she thought she knew about the human mind. It started with an anomaly. Subject after subject, regardless of age, gender, or cultural background, exhibited identical neural signatures during their most intense nightmares. The patterns were too precise to be coincidental, too complex to be random. Elena's colleague, Dr. Marcus Chen, initially dismissed the findings as equipment malfunction, but as the data accumulated over weeks, then months, the truth became undeniable. Every human nightmare was connected. Elena's hands trembled as she compiled the research. The Topology of Dreams, as she came to call it, revealed a vast network of interconnected fear responses. Like a spider's web stretched across the collective unconscious, every thread of terror led back to a single point. A source. Something they began referring to as the dream horror. The breakthrough came during a late-night session. Elena was monitoring a patient suffering from chronic night terrors when the man's brain activity spiked beyond anything she had ever recorded. His screams echoed through the soundproof chamber as his neural patterns synchronized perfectly with a frequency they had been tracking for months. But this time, something was different. This time, the frequency seemed to pulse back. Marcus burst into the observation room, his face pale. 3 other patients in separate chambers were experiencing identical episodes simultaneously. Their brain waves had locked into perfect harmony, creating a resonance that made the monitoring equipment spark and flicker. In that moment, Elena realized they were not just studying nightmares. They were communicating with them. The patients' testimonies were eerily consistent. Each described the same entity lurking at the edge of their dreams, a presence that fed on fear and grew stronger with every nightmare it touched. They spoke of vast caverns beneath reality, where all terrors converged, of a consciousness so ancient and malevolent that it had learned to navigate human dreams like highways through the mind. Elena became obsessed with mapping these dream pathways. She worked 18-hour days, her own sleep becoming fragmented and disturbed. The research consumed her, but she pressed on, convinced that understanding the dream horror was the key to helping millions of people plagued by chronic nightmares. That was her first mistake. The second mistake was volunteering herself as a test subject. Elena's own brain patterns, when she finally entered REM sleep, revealed something that chilled her to the bone. Her neural signature was different from the others. While normal subjects showed connection to the dream horror during nightmares, Elena's brain displayed constant, low-level contact. Even when awake, part of her consciousness remained tethered to that dark network. The realization hit her like ice water. By studying the dream horror so intensively, by mapping its pathways and documenting its influence, she had attracted its attention. It had been studying her back. Marcus noticed the change first. Elena's behavior became erratic, her conversations peppered with references to places that did not exist and people who had never lived. She spoke of the onyx corridors where nightmares were born, of the weeping galleries where fear took physical form. When pressed for details, she would smile with an expression that belonged to someone else entirely. The laboratory's security cameras captured the moment everything went wrong. Elena stood alone in the main research chamber at 3 in the morning, surrounded by dozens of monitors displaying the brain patterns of sleeping subjects from around the world. But she was not alone. The thermal imaging revealed a second presence, a cold shadow that seemed to writhe and pulse beside her. She was talking to it. Marcus watched the footage with growing horror as Elena gestured toward the screens, explaining their research to something invisible. Her voice, captured by the sensitive microphones, carried a tone of desperate reverence as she described the years of work, the careful documentation, the complete mapping of the dream topology. She was giving it a roadmap to every sleeping mind on Earth. The next morning, reports began flooding in from sleep laboratories worldwide. Patients were experiencing nightmares of unprecedented intensity, their dreams filled with a presence that knew their deepest fears intimately. The neural patterns Elena had spent years cataloging were being broadcast back into human minds with surgical precision. Elena herself had vanished. The security footage showed her walking toward the emergency exit at dawn, moving with the mechanical precision of someone sleepwalking. But the thermal cameras told a different story. The cold shadow had grown larger, more defined, and Elena's heat signature was fading with each step. Marcus found her personal research notes scattered across her office. The final entry, written in handwriting that grew increasingly erratic, revealed the horrible truth. The dream. Horror was not just a source of nightmares. It was a harvester, feeding on human fear to grow stronger, more intelligent, more capable of manipulating the waking world. And Elena had given it everything it needed to expand beyond the realm of sleep. The institute was shut down within 48 hours, the research classified and buried, but the damage was done. Sleep disorders clinics reported a global epidemic of synchronized nightmares. People woke screaming about the same dark corridors, the same watching presence, the same terrible knowledge that something vast and hungry was learning to navigate their minds. Marcus tried to continue the research, desperate to find a way to sever the connection Elena had strengthened. But his own sleep became plagued with visions of his colleague standing in those impossible corridors, her eyes reflecting a cold intelligence that was decidedly inhuman. In his final report, marked for immediate destruction, Marcus wrote about the true horror of their discovery. The dream horror had not been randomly feeding on human nightmares. It had been waiting, learning, evolving, and Elena's research had taught it something crucial about the topology of human consciousness. It had learned how to dream while awake. The last verified sighting of Dr. Elena Vasquez came from a security camera in downtown Seattle. She stood perfectly still on a busy sidewalk as hundreds of people walked past her, their faces blank, their movements synchronized. For exactly 13 seconds, every person visible in the frame turned to look directly at the camera with Elena's smile. Then, they continued walking, as if nothing had happened. The camera feed cut to static immediately after. Sleep research facilities worldwide have reported the same phenomenon. Patients entering REM sleep display Elena's neural signature before their own patterns reassert themselves. It lasts only moments, but in those brief intervals, something else looks out through their eyes. Something that has learned the topology of dreams and found a way to make nightmares contagious. The question that haunts the few researchers who know the truth is not whether the dream horror exists, but whether Elena is still fighting it from within those dark corridors, or if she has become its most effective ambassador to our world. Because every night, as millions of people close their eyes and surrender to sleep, they enter a domain where Elena Vasquez is waiting to welcome them home to the source of all nightmares. And in the morning, some of them wake up smiling her smile.